when you're not prepared to say stop, you are no longer an effective part of the team, because each one of us is seeing things from a different angle, and each one of us has to put our hand up, no matter how hard it is, to say this is not right.
Next time you're watching Air Crash Investigation, have a look and have a think. If maintenance errors involved, and it's one of the main contributory reasons behind why maybe an accident took place, just ask yourself if the mechanic or the engineer had this little personal minimums card, which will come up on screen.
Fixing aircraft is pretty high stakes. You want to really commit 100% of that available brain power to doing it, as opposed to having 50% of, I can't believe that person this morning cut me up. What an ass.
So what 3 human factors could negatively affect me today?
One that I know that we've covered actually in another podcast, but the resource element we know is a problem at the moment, and quite often is, whether it's people resource, whether it's parts, whether it's tooling. It's recognizing, do I have everything I need in front of me to do this job correctly? And it could be the steps and stands that we've talked about.
Hey, thank you for watching to this point. Really does mean a lot. We're always looking to create more content that will connect with you and that you'll find valuable. So please feel free to comment, let us know what you like, and any ideas of what you'd like to be covered in the future would always mean a lot to us. Thank you. Luke, well, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Today, we're going to be talking about personal minimums, and this is really close to my heart.
It's a great process, and I think what's great, it gives that moment to just take 5 and make sure that it's working as it should do once you finish that task.
Yeah, excellent.
So I know obviously the card itself is split in 2 before the task, and I think it'd be great to start rolling through those.
This topic is one that's really close to my heart because it was based on something that happened to me when I did my airframe power plant license in the States and spent a whole day in a hangar with a maintenance examiner, and I was doing loads of inspections and then doing an oral part of the interview process to get my certificate. And he gave me, at the end of the day, he gave me a personal minimums cards, which we've mentioned a few times on this podcast, but yeah, I wanted to dive a little bit more into this very briefly.
Sounds good. I know it's something we talk about a lot, but it's great to go through each of those elements and how it really contributes to making sure what we're doing is safe.
Yeah, and I'm convinced, actually, and I challenge anybody out there watching this, next time you're watching Air Crash Investigation, have a look and have a think. If maintenance errors involved, and it's one of the main contributory reasons behind why maybe an accident took place, just ask yourself if the mechanic or the engineer had this little personal minimums card, which will come up on screen, how many of these questions before the task and after the task would actually have changed the outcome, as in the accident would not have happened? Because I am convinced that I've not watched any yet or read any accident reports where, had they had this little card and truthfully answered these questions, I'm convinced there would be people still alive today, to put a sobering spin on it. So I know we hand these out in class, but let's just go through personal minimums cards questions.
Yes.
So here we go. The first one, do I have the knowledge required to perform the task? Now, this is before the task. So what does that mean? Do I have the knowledge required?
Ultimately, it's around competence, familiarity. What have you done this task before? Always helpful because you know what you're going into. Quite often you won't have done. Aircraft are big and there's lots of different tasks that's required for it. But it's about, do you have that foundation knowledge to be able to perform this task effectively?
Yeah.
We have loads of tools which help support this. The use of approved data is crucial because that is your step-by-step instruction to be able to take you from 0 to completion of that task in a phased and staged way. But a general awareness of the system can really help give you that situational awareness, which sometimes just printed words on a paper can be difficult to gain from.
Yeah, so thinking, who is there around me who might have done this before that I could ask if there's anything that might be a bit tricky, but also being really mindful, and this is a self-awareness piece, which time and time we come back to self-awareness piece to actually say, I don't actually, I'm qualified, I've got the approvals or the authorizations to do this task. I may not have done it before, or I may have done it, but I'm not so confident. Well, now be really aware, because if there's time pressure that you're on a deadline, then that can add now in the background to the human factors that you might be negatively affected by.
Yes.
So it's about being aware of that. All right, next one. Do I have the approved data?
I think it links in really quite nicely. In fact, these top three almost.
Yeah.
Knowledge and approved data enables you to have a situational awareness and then a constructive, laid out task methodology as defined in the maintenance manual to be able to perform that task as the manufacturer had intended it.
Yeah. Now, what if I've done this task so many times before?
We're human beings. We forget things all of the time. And for me, I still don't think there's a better way, tried and tested, whether that's printing or on an iPad. And it's about step by step going requirement, tick, complete, next. Yeah. That way, you don't have the opportunity to inadvertently miss a step, skip past something. Utilizing it in that manner is a really structured way of taking you from the beginning to the end, exactly as the OEM had envisaged that task to be completed.
Yeah.
It's important to throw in here, I don't want to be naive, that quite often you will find there are sometimes challenges with the approved data. What you do with that is key. Quite often people will skip past it, be able to work around those different areas. By doing so, ultimately, the second you deviate from the approved data, it's not as your instruction from the OEM and leaves you open to possible repercussions should anything go wrong. If you find it's wrong, submit that tech query, submit the safety case, whatever your organizational procedure is, but highlight the error in the data and make sure that there is a consistent way to be able to move forwards as per the instructions from somebody who designed that system.
Yeah, really.
I'm always conscious I'd go through tasks before and go, what's that all about?
Yeah.
And do it. And then you get another 3/4 of the way through the step and go, oh, that's why. And it's important that you don't disregard something because you don't think it makes sense, only to realize, oh, that's why that was the important part of the task.
Yeah, good. I think there's another reason as well why this is on this card. So do I have the approved data? So you might have done a task hundreds of times before. I could probably give you a blank sheet of paper and you could probably literally write out step by step what that procedure entails, based on the assumption that you are not under time pressure, you're not fatigued, you're not feeling stressed, etc., etc. So this is the important point. Do I have the approved data required? Why do I need it when I've done it so many times? Well, this is the reason. Because this time you may well be under pressure, you may be feeling stressed, you may be fatigued, you may get distracted. It's for those human factor reasons that could actually set you up to miss a step that if you weren't feeling those human factors, of course you'd remember it verbatim. But actually, this is one of those safety nets to say, we know that you're going to be experiencing different human factors. Hey, listen, by following approved data, by always working in accordance with, you can hold your hands up and say, yeah, I worked in accordance with, even though I was under pressure, even though I was feeling stressed. And in fact, I often remind people that actually you need to be working in accordance with more when you are feeling stressed and under pressure and fatigued. And that's usually the times when people stray away from approved data. It's a bit ironic.
It is. The safety blanket that keeps us safe, especially when we
Yes.
are human, is the one thing that we first think we're going to drop. I don't have time to print out the procedure.
Yes. And actually, that is the time you definitely need to make sure you've got it with you. So always work in accordance with, but definitely be mindful that when I'm up against it, that is the time I need to. All right, moving on. Have I been properly trained?
Really, it speaks for itself.
Yep.
Do you actually have the training to be able to use these tools effectively and safely? Because again, you get a new piece of test equipment, you get something out of the box, and the first thing you're doing is, what's this? How does this work? We get more experience the more we do things, but if you haven't been trained in how to do it in the first place, you don't really want the first 2 or 3 times that you do that task to be a bit hit and miss because you're gaining the experience that you need to be able to do it.
Okay, good. Am I mentally prepared? Now this one, am I mentally prepared to perform the task? When I was given this personal minimums card back in 2005, I had no idea what that actually meant. I was like, of course I am. I just man up and crack on. What are we talking about here, mentally prepared?
Frankly, how are you feeling today?
That's good.
Because we are going to go through a journey in our lives of great times, bad times, hard times, easy times. And sometimes even throughout a day, we'll go through all of those mix of emotions. if you have a mental distraction where your head is somewhere else for whatever reason, work pressures, home pressures, whatever, your brain is subdivided from that task, which ultimately needs your full attention. Fixing aircraft is pretty high stakes. You want to really commit 100% of that available brain power to doing it, as opposed to having 50% of, I can't believe that person this morning cut me up. What an ass. I can't believe it.
That never goes through my mind.
It is recognizing what's your headspace. And if that headspace is good and it's clear, it gives you much better clarity. We've all been in those places where we're overwhelmed and you don't feel you can make a decision because it's like you're just paralyzed by it.
Yeah.
Well, now try and fix an aircraft when you've got that space.
This is where it ties in with airmanship. It ties in with self-awareness. We need to be self-aware enough to be able to say when we're traveling to work in the morning, hey, what situation's going on in my life right now? Oh yeah, I've got this going on and this going on. So what 3 human factors could negatively affect me today? Well, I'm quite likely to be distracted and I'm feeling really stressed. Okay, now I'm just about to go and work on a helicopter or an aircraft. That's going to carry passengers. How now could I be being set up to make an error or a mistake due to not me intentionally trying to, but because of the situations going on in my life, which I'm aware of, but then these top 3 human factors. Okay, just take a few moments to think, okay, so how now do I set myself up for success?
Genuinely, I think the way you've explained that reality check of how important what we do is crucial.
Yeah.
How often is it the first time you do something is a really big deal, and then you get more and more and more familiar with it, and it just becomes a thing that you do. You do the same with work. You realize the importance of it as aircraft engineers or as staff within the aviation environment. We recognize on our first days how crucial what we do is. Year 3, year 5, it's just another day at the office. Here we go. Oh, it's a cold day today.
Yeah.
That reality check at the door that says what I do today could negatively impact somebody on a safety front really puts it back into reality of, right, okay, yeah, you're right, I'm here. It might be going on, but leave it at the door and work forwards. Again, very easy to say, but that's where those conversations with team members come, because they help with that and they help reality check of, are you sure you're in the right headspace for this at the moment? How can we help with that?
That's good. And I think certainly the more experienced engineers, those who have been in the mechanics, who have been in the industry for years, when you've got new people coming up under you, when you're mentoring them or coaching them, ask them, hey, how are you feeling today? No, how are you actually feeling today?
Yes.
Just see where the conversation goes from there. Because if we can't acknowledge how we're actually feeling, I actually think that's a tricky space we're moving into, because now I'm not acknowledging how I'm feeling, which means I'm less likely to acknowledge how I could be being set up to make an error or a mistake when I'm working on an aircraft. And I don't necessarily know what the consequences of that might be.
Yes.
So that's important. All right. Am I physically prepared? I think that's quite
pretty straightforward, as you say, but again, recognize those little aches and pains they've had is fine. It's apparently it's an age thing, but are you physically prepared? Because if you have got a dodgy stomach, how much are you focused on that versus the independent inspection that you're doing? Recognize, am I physically in the right place for that? And actually, longer term for me, it's been about recognizing, well, you know what, maybe this is a bit of a trajectory on the physical health element that I need to take action on.
Yeah, take a day off. I think there's nothing worse than struggling on sake because you're the big I am or whatever, and then you infect half the office or half the workforce. That's worse.
I was driving here today, having a phone call, hands-free, with a colleague who was absolutely, bless him, it sounded as though he was on death's door with the cold that he's got. And again, that's the sort of thing that you want to be leaving at home, because no one wants to be anywhere near you, not particularly good for teamwork.
Yeah.
And when you're feeling rough, you're just focused on, I'm groggy, I feel awful. So,
yeah. Okay. Have I taken the proper safety precautions?
It's a broad statement that safety precautions, they are far-reaching. It's useful when you talk about approved data at the front. There are some safety precautions that it talks about, but it's often it's broader than that, because the first 4 or 5 on that list ultimately are part of those safety precautions of what you may need to be taking. Because if you're not mentally in the right place, that's not the right safety precaution.
Yeah.
But it's also when you're working with other people, if you're going to be operating hydraulic systems, whatever it may be, what's the impact that it could have with somebody who's doing some other work on another system? Recognize the safety precautions and recognize those good techniques around communication of the task that you're about to do. Do other people know what you're doing? If you're about to go onto the other side of the airfield and work on a rotor head or a component that's off the ground, right steps and stands is great. You can have all the right equipment in the world. Does somebody know that you've done that? Does somebody go, actually, where? I haven't seen them now for 2 or 3 hours, and it's easy to slip and to have an incident or accident. They're the sorts of safety precautions. Take that holistic view of this task and think, what could go wrong? Not just in the task for maintaining that aircraft, but for me personally on a safety front as well.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Do I have the resources required?
Big topic. One that I know that we've covered actually in another podcast, but the resource element we know is a problem at the moment, and quite often is, whether it's people resource, whether it's parts, whether it's tooling. It's recognizing, do I have everything I need in front of me to do this job correctly?
Yeah.
And it could be the steps and stands that we've talked about. It doesn't just have to be the people element to it. But if you haven't, it's about how you communicate that with other colleagues and peers to make sure that you come up with a safe plan of action, which everyone is aware of, everyone's happy with, and that is a genuine safe response. Just because 5 people have all agreed it's a good idea still doesn't make it necessarily safe. If it says you need 2 people to do a task and 5 of you have said, well, I think you only need 1, what are you missing?
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, am I in compliance with the regulations and procedures? This is the whole, am I working in accordance with? It's so important to work in accordance with. I think everybody who's been involved in an accident or a major incident in our industry, if you now were to sit them down opposite and interview them, I absolutely pretty confident every single one of them would have said, I wish I'd have worked in accordance with. Because if they'd have worked in accordance with, this is assuming they hadn't.
Yep.
But if they had worked in accordance with, and that had led to the task being completed satisfactory, and then no accidents, no incidents, no injury to people, I think they would have all say that.
There's 2 elements that come as to be positive of working in compliance with. That if you work in compliance with and it goes wrong, you have done everything that you have been asked to do, whether it's within an organizational structure setup or an OEM instruction, you have done as been requested. If it goes wrong, it doesn't change the outcome, but what it does personally for you is know that everything you did was as much as you could have done to make that safe. So that's the first element to it. And the other element is, as you say, that in compliance with, in theory, should make sure that that task outcome is exactly as it should be. The reason we write things down is repeatability of a task and repeatability of an outcome.
Yeah, very good. Okay, and then finally on before the task, am I prepared to say stop if I need to? That's a really important one. Yeah.
It's saying stop is hard. And recognizing when you could be in a position where you don't want to say stop can sometimes be, actually, I've said yes to the first 4 because I'm biased towards a certain outcome that I want to happen. Even if any of those are wrong, I still wouldn't be happy to say stop.
Yeah.
It's at that point, it highlights that maybe your judgment might not quite be where you think it should be. And it's a really good time to go and speak to people and get a second opinion. Is this right? Are we sure? I'm not sure I feel confident that I'm in the right place to be able to make those sorts of big calls. And generally, a collective of people will definitely help bring clarity to a situation.
I think there's something that precedes this question, or precedes our ability to be able to say stop. So am I prepared to say stop? It's this preparation. I've just thought of this actually. It's the preparation. Am I prepared? Have I prepared myself to be able to say stop? Should I sense that we need to?
Yes.
And I may need to say stop because I've got a lack of resources. I may need to say stop because I'm observing something that's unsafe. I'm observing maybe somebody on a high lift or scissor lift without using the correct full arrest system, or they're working on top of an aircraft without the correct full arrest system in place. Am I prepared to say stop? How have I prepared myself? Again, this comes back to self-awareness. It comes back to thinking in advance, what kind of situations have I seen in the past where I wish I'd have stepped in and said, stop? And why did I feel uncomfortable? What was the belief that I had? Because behind a behavior, and this is a behavior, am I prepared to say stop? Saying stop would be a behavior. But what am I believing? So if I saw somebody about to step out into the middle of the road, I would say stop. I'd probably go and shout at them or grab them and pull them back if there was a car coming, obviously, not if it was a clear road. But if there was a car
never cross the road with Sam.
if there was cars coming and I could see that there was danger, because the danger in my mind, the belief that there is imminent danger, is overriding any uncomfortableness that I may have about approaching another person. So it's this, am I prepared? But to be prepared, we have to think, what certain things would there be taking place where I would go, actually, guys, let's just take 30 seconds.
And I think really what you've just explained is your personal minima.
Yeah.
What is my personal minima?
Yeah.
And if you feel that personal minima has been breached or is at risk of being breached, you have to feel confident that you are going to say stop. And if you're not, there's perhaps some more work to be done in terms of that preparation. Where are you organizationally as a culture, perhaps? Where do you fit in with being able to share concerns with your management team? And when you're not prepared to say stop, you are no longer an effective part of the team, because each one of us is seeing things from a different angle, and each one of us has to put our hand up, no matter how hard it is, to say, this is not right.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, there's a lot of internal reflection that needs to be done.
So Luke, that was before the task, the questions to ask ourselves before the task, and they can significantly help us. And we're going to do another one of these where we're going to talk about after the task and the questions we should ask ourselves about that too. So if you're watching, don't forget to watch part 2.